I thought I would catch up on some of the controversy that I apparently am causing, which is not my intent, so people can pretend anything they want, but, I don't really, not anything I'm contriving. Conflict, I think, is just inevitable. It's quite necessary. Human beings don't get along with each other sometimes. Worst case scenario, they have wars, over ideology and politics. And that's the way it goes. That's just the liability of our circumstance. All this diversity, this capacity for our complexity to take the same thing. We're all living on the same planet. We have the same relative position in the universe. And yet we somehow can see the world completely differently. And in turn, our values and what goes on in our brains can be completely, the wiring is just, it's hard to say the word completely, but it is almost complete difference in perception of reality. All right, so I apologize to the moderators that I have inadvertently put them in an awkward position. Where they have to, they're being put upon to somehow confine me and restrain my rhetoric because somehow I'm out of control. Well, in defense of their non-action, I will point out that this is just gross duplicity, these people complaining. And they're only complaining because I'm winning the argument, because I've beaten them with logic and reason, not because I've beaten them with words I never even said. Certain people have quoted my swear words, and of course they don't quote me. No, they just add to it. They exaggerate it. They make it preposterous, and because that's the role they wish to play. The game they wish to play, let's put it that way. They wish to take advantage. They wish to, it's just the ludicrousness of Topical Tuber's complaint about me playing his video, and somehow that's a butchery of context, when his little ally Pizza Boy takes one clip of my video and plays it 5 times. Now let me ask you another hypothetical question, Tuber. You're big on these hypothetical questions. So I'll ask you the hypothetical question. If I took your video and just cut out the words communist, socialist, Marxist, okay, and get out, leave, go away, move, all right, I just took those 2 clips and smashed them together, so that's all you would be heard to say. Would that be a fairness to you and your remarks, your 8-minute video? In my opinion, it probably would be, because that's all your video was saying. But I wouldn't do it, because I'm not a weasel. I'm not a ballless little whiny, dripping anus, okay, like you people. You will cheat. You will play the propaganda game. All right, and then you will, with gross duplicity, you will sit there and whine about the fact that I speculated on why you don't molest your children. I was making a simple comparison. I could say, out of curiosity, why don't you? You apparently don't give a damn about children. You'll kill other people's children across the world. You'll vote for it. Yes, kill more Chinese people. Please do. You voted for it. And then you'll sit there and whine because somebody might speculate, well, why don't you just eat your own children? Or why don't you molest your own children? Why don't you abuse your own children? Because obviously you support laws that allow capitalists to go across the world and eat them. So why don't you support it? It's a simple hypothetical question, just as idiotic and unfair as your idiotic and unfair question. All right? It's so, the premise of your question is, why don't you communists? Who on this website, I'll ask you again, point me to the communist video on this website. Who are you talking to when you call us communists? Who? Exactly. I haven't even seen anybody who's just said, oh, I'm just dripping wet for Marxism. Like I said, you haven't even read the damn book. It's not some book that says, give all the money to the poor people. Okay? Go read it. All right? It's a complex analysis of the economy. You're going to play these games that you can summarize it in 3 words or 2 words or 1 word, communism? You're an idiot. Okay? And the very fact that you people can't even get a grip on these words is made so obvious in Pizza Boy's last video, where he, you know, butchers my clips and takes them out of context and doesn't provide the whole explanation of what rich was, the definition of that word in my video. He says, well, there's billionaire socialists. Now, does that make any sense at all? I mean, realistically, I mean, is that the definition of a socialist? We have to accept his definition. So anyone, I mean, I don't even know how to describe that. I mean, so why can't I call myself a capitalist? If that guy could be called, if a billionaire can be called a socialist, then why can't I call myself a capitalist? I mean, it would be just as preposterous, wouldn't it? I mean, realistically, I mean, this is just silly arguments. These arguments don't even deserve the dignity of a response. Of course, they certainly don't. People shouldn't have to feel defensive that some have to explain to these morons why they're just completely duplicitous. I mean, this is idiotic. You know, they have approved four-letter words that they can use, but my four-letter words aren't approved. They can call somebody a communist, but I can't speculate on them being Nazis or racist or murderers, right? I mean, you know, it's all this veiled rhetoric. So yeah, let's all be dishonest and play with veiled rhetoric, and that's somehow more human. It's exactly too much like the politics that runs the world. It's too much like the lying and the bullshit that goes on. Like I said, I mean, I don't, you know, anybody who's got the balls to do the polygraph thing, if anybody thinks I'm being dishonest or disingenuous, okay, I'll play the game, okay? I'll put up and then I don't have to shut up, all right? So any amount of money you want to challenge my integrity, the honesty of the words that come out of my mouth, and then I'm not playing some fucking strategic bullshit game. Game on, fella. I'll do whatever it takes to prove the integrity of my character, and let's see you do the same. Because you know inside your little twisted head, Pizza Boy, you're playing games. Okay? And I defy you. I defy you, all right, to get into a fair integrity battle, because you're going to lose that one too. You've lost on the issue, you've lost on the facts, and you will lose a battle of human integrity, because obviously you don't have any. I mean, it was an obvious cheat. You obviously manipulate my message in my video. In 1 2-minute video, you just said I'm some advocate for the poor. Did you quote me? Did you find the quotes where I'm just sitting there, my heart's just bleeding for the poor? No, you didn't do any of that shit. You just sit there and called me something. So anyway, I just find this so disgusting that people can throw the word communist around. They can call people a commie, all right? You know, but these other accusations are off limits. I mean, bullshit. So anyway, this is, you know, this whole thing, it sort of connects to the other subject matter that was thrown around by Bella and her extremism, is that it is so unproductive. Extremism is unproductive, and by some people's standards, I'm an extremist. My rhetoric is extreme. I don't buy that argument. I think it's yes, I walk the line sometimes. Yeah, there might be some minor incursions, okay, into bad taste. But in my opinion, they're always a deserved, balanced response to the rhetoric that has been thrown at me. Okay, the crap that gets thrown at me. It's even another one of Pizza Boy's videos. He mentioned my agoraphobia, as if that's somehow relevant to something. It's not even a subject I even wanted to broach on this damn website. All right, but somebody brought it up, and it is, you know, and so they'll use any little detail, any part of you that becomes known fact, they will use against you. That's why everybody stays in these veiled characters, these little mystery people with their little mystery personas, you know, just talking from the shadow kind of bullshit. You know, just so they can throw their stones and hide behind their fucking dirty little scurvy rocks. And that's the game they're playing. And it's just a bullshit game. Alright, so I will recontextualize. I will combine two subjects. You know, this extremism that Bella is advocating that's just so destructive. And it's the same thing that's going on in this argument. I mean, you know, there's no communists here, so there's no extreme socialist, Marxist, Leninist, Stalinist bastards here to have to worry about. So, but that's the, yes, let's pigeonhole them over to that extreme. And the same thing happens like with animal rights, okay? Instead of the poster child for animal rights being some disciplined, rational, reasonable person, it ends up they just take the excesses, okay? So they'll take the excesses of some group like PETA, you know, that goes way too far sometimes, and you know, they'll label the whole cause by that poster child. And so now you have Bella, you know, nagging people because they kill a tick. Just completely ludicrous, you know, when we have millions of people suffering horrible abuse in this world, and she's worried about a motherfucking tick. I mean, it just makes the issue laughable. It's humiliating that she's I mean, I don't want her on my side, but she's humiliating to have on my side of this issue. There's a theoretical requirement for us to be civilized and decent, and not to gratuitously or wastefully abuse any sentient creature. It's just reasonable to have that perspective, to do no harm, you know, where you don't have to do harm, to avoid doing harm, and that's infinitely rational. Okay, but yes, it's infinitely irrational to take that principle and to some preposterous extreme. You know, when you have so much to worry about right in front of you. I mean, I don't even know how to describe a metaphor to describe how stupid what Bella's talking about is. It's like there's somebody hemorrhaging right in front of you, and she is, I don't even know how to, like I said, I can't even describe what kind of distraction she's gotten lost in, you know, and just completely ignoring the blood on the floor, on her feet, on her body, you know, to worry about some nonsense. All right, so anyway, look, on the capitalist thing, these dollars, we know what they can buy, all right? You can buy a human life with them. Very few of them, actually. I mean, you could take, you know, maybe as little as 100 of them, all right, and you can save a human life in another country with it. You can preserve their life. You can give them another 30 years of life, all right? You can prevent a child from going blind with maybe a half of one of these in the world. You can do it. It's doable. So this thing shouldn't be wasted. I mean, we should be able to agree on that. We should be rationally be able to just say, yeah, that makes sense, don't waste it. It's like when you're a kid. I mean, I would think almost everybody's run into that situation. I mean, your mother says something like, you know, when you're not eating your food, well, you waste that food. You know, some kid's starving in China, so you're basically killing a little Chinese kid by wasting that food, you know, to get you to eat it. And we all understand it in principle, but we all know we can't live by the principle. I mean, there's no practical way we can live our lives in that idealistic way where we completely deny ourselves of everything that makes our life livable and survivable and enjoyable, because we are constantly thinking about, oh, I can't spend this money because, you know, I got to buy a human life with it. I got to save somebody from cancer with it. I got to get a kid out of a cement mixer with it. I got to do something, you know, with this money. I got to give it to that little Mexican kid walking on the garbage dump right now, you know, fishing for his breakfast. You know, I have to do something meaningful with it. I can't waste it. I can't squander it on, you know, some indulgence for myself, a Starbucks coffee or something. Oh my God, I'm a killer, I'm a murderer. All right, so we know we can't practically live the principle, all right? But what these other people have done, these capitalists, these defenders of horror and murder and abuse and exploitation have done, is they've just said, well, because I can't live the principle, I'm not even going to accept the principle exists. So all of a sudden, there's no way to waste this anymore. You know, they've eliminated the equation. They've disconnected this from its real power in the world. They've just said, no, it doesn't save lives. No, it's not my responsibility. No, I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to see it. I don't want to know anything about it, okay? Because I can't live the principle. I can just throw the principle in the garbage. No, that's not what we can do. We can accept the fact that we are selfish, that we are human, that we have limited capacity to, you know, cut off our own arms or our legs or our brain or our feelings or our emotions or our needs, okay, to do the right thing. Yes, we're going to be selfish sometimes. All right, let's just accept that in ourselves, okay? But let's not go to let's not eradicate a principle because of dumb extremism. Let's not eradicate concern for animal life and the sentience that's all around us because some idiot says something preposterous and it tries to oblige us to live up to some principle that is completely preposterous, okay? So yes, let's not laugh about killing animals and ticks or bugs or anything. Let's not laugh about it, because it's not funny that we're stuck on this planet and we're obliged to basically stomp on all this other stuff trying to live a life. Because it's not funny, okay? And we should be conscious of it, essentially, at least philosophically. We don't have to emotionally get upset, but we should at least philosophically acknowledge the reality that exists, okay? The reality is we kill stuff to live. We harm things to live, okay? And the reality is this money, okay, has the power to prevent harm and suffering and to satisfy deprivation. And so when some rich person has it, okay, it's a fact that that's what it can do. All right, and it's just nonsense to say no. They can squander it. They can go ahead and have as much of it as they want, and they can drive it any way they want. All right, so I'll just make that point too. I made it in the video, and I think it's a valid point. In our world, we have to earn rights. You don't just get a driver's license because your mother had one. You don't inherit a driver's license. You don't inherit most liberties in this country. I mean, ones that have some element of responsibility tied to them, okay? Anything that requires a little bit of responsibility, you're not going to get that right out of nothing. You're going to have to pay for it, okay? You're going to have to prove yourself. You're going to have to qualify to have that right. You're not going to be able to work in the nuclear power plant doing certain jobs unless you qualify for them, all right? And so we have this thing called control over capital. You should have to qualify to do it. You should have to earn the right to have that control, all right? And one of the ways you can earn it is by exactly doing the work and creating the productivity that makes that capital, or at least that extracts that capital, because I never think that's a valid way to do it. It is usury capitalism. But beyond that, there has to be at least some legitimate standard, and have no standard. To say inheritance, it should be inherited, is just as preposterous as saying your right to work in the nuclear power plant should be based on the fact that your father worked in it. That doesn't qualify you. Your right to drive should be based on the fact that your mother had a driver's license. That's idiotic. It's preposterous. And it should be just as preposterous when it comes to control of the industrial complex, control over the production and manufacture of what we call capital. So anyway, I think I've made the point. But anyway, I'm sorry for the ugly discourse crap, but like I said, people think they can throw certain words around and they don't mean anything. That they can malign people, ridicule people, and pigeonhole people with words that maybe have more syllables than a four-letter word, okay? But it's the same insult, all right? I mean, capitalists do kill kids. That's just a fact. So should I just call you all murderers and then you'll feel okay? And you do abuse children. So what's the difference? I mean, abuse, molestation, it's all the same thing. But as long as they're other people's children, it's okay. I mean, that's the practical fact, okay? And you're not going to be able to weasel out of that. So just control your own rhetoric first, all right? You come to me with something reasonable, but you're going to come to me with, you're a communist? Fuck you. You're a Marxist? Fuck you. But you're not going to find me quoting any of that shit. You're not going to find me pointing to any of that shit. All right? So you have no fucking right to do it. All right? And just the excesses of the rhetoric. I mean, in the blog post, somebody was sitting there saying, I have abused his children. Bullshit. Or have I suggested they should be abused or something else? Bullshit. The comment's there to read. All right? He sits there and he's, oh, like I said, I don't know how else to put it. It's okay for him to call me a communist and tell me to leave this country. He can speculate, okay? But it's not okay for me to speculate back at him with something just as preposterous and just as unfair. I mean, bullshit. Oh, enough said. Sorry about the close-ups, but, you know, happens.